Hello guys, welcome to today's class. Today we're gonna continue with the unit number 12. So let's get started. First we have the vocabulary topic. In the first exercise we have word with a partner. List each item in the box under an appropriate heading to show where you would expect to find them. Use your dictionary if necessary. Alright, so here we have several elements that we can find in our houses, but we're gonna classify them if we can find them in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in the living room, or in the hallway. Alright, maybe you're gonna need to use a dictionary, but you can also use the internet to help you to complete this exercise. So do it guys, and when you finish, we're gonna check the answers all together. Alright, now let's take a look one by one. First, we have candlesticks. This is a picture of what candlesticks are. As you can see, it's the object where we put some candles. And maybe we could find this in the living room. Then we have coat hooks. This is where we put our keys, our coats, our scarves, or many other different objects that we can hang over here. And I think that we can find them in the hallway or also in the living room. Then we have dish towels. As you can see, these are towels, but why are these called dish towels? Well, it's because they are used to dry dishes. Also, we use them to dry our hands. It's obvious that we can find them in the kitchen. Then we have a doormat that we put it at the entrance of our houses. In this case, I think that the most proper place to say that we find it is in a hallway because we don't put it in the kitchen or in the living room, right? Then we have a dustpan and brush, and as its name says, well, here is the brush and this is the dustpan that we use to collect all the dust that we can find in our houses. Then we have a fireplace, that is this that we have over here. Well, this obviously we're gonna find it in the living room. Then we have an ironing board. This is the ironing board because it is the object that we use to iron. No, it is not called donkey, it is an ironing board. Then we have ornaments. Ornaments are all these elements that we put maybe in the living room in order to decorate the house. Then we have a sink. It's pretty easy to identify what this is and that we can find it in the kitchen. Then the pattern wallpaper is this wallpaper that we put here in order to decorate the walls of our houses. We could say that we stick them to the wall. Then we have the shaving outlet. This is not very common here in Mexico, but this is a special outlet that is used to connect shaving machines. Then we have a shower curtain, that is this over here, in order to have some privacy in the shower. Then we have a towel rail, that is the place where we put a towel. And finally, a tumble dryer that we use to dry our clothes. All right? Very good, guys. Now, let's continue with the exercise number 2 that says, with which part of a room would you associate this group of items? Choose from a window, a wall, a door, or the floor. For example, here we have this group of items that says wall-to-wall carpet, parquet, rugs, and tiles. Would you, without looking into a dictionary or into the internet, would you choose the group of window, wall, a door, or the floor? That's right, the floor. All these items are related with the floor. Please continue with the rest of the groups, and when you finish, you're gonna check all the items in exercise 1 and 2 that you have in your own home, right? If you, for example, I think that all of us have a sink, but not all of us have a fireplace, right? So you're gonna check the ones that you have from this exercise and from this other exercise, right? Alright, now that you have finished, let's continue with the speaking and listening exercise. In the exercise 1, we have work with your partner, compare the two pictures and discuss these questions. Alright, so here we have two pictures of two different rooms. You're gonna call your classmates and you're gonna discuss these questions to them related to the pictures. Okay, do it, and when you finish, we'll continue. Alright, let's continue. Now, in the exercise number 2 we have, you're going to listen to a psychologist talking about what each room says about the people who live there. Before you listen, match each of his interpretations, A to F, with the room you think it applies to, 1 or 2. So for each of the interpretations that we have here, you're gonna try to guess if he is talking about the room number 1 or about the room number 2. So do that. Alright, now that you have finished, I'm gonna play the audio so that you can check your ideas. And they ask us, do you agree with the psychologist's comments? Okay, here goes the audio.
Unit 12, Track 2.44. Room 1.
This is obviously a family room. The couch is big and comfortable, but the use of colors suggests that both comfort and style are important. I imagine a small family with a young child sitting on the couch to watch a movie or listen to a story. There are several cushions which may look attractive, but 9 times out of 10, they don't make seats more comfortable. I'd say that this apartment belongs to a family with a sense of style, who want a beautiful living space. So with that in mind, I imagine they would have chosen the brightly colored furniture and the rest of the matching decor together. The room has a neutral palette, with some splashes of yellow around the room on the cushions, the lampstand, and the picture on the wall. The big glass door adds to the brightness of the room. The room is very tidy, and I imagine that, like many families nowadays, both partners pitch in with housework in the evenings and on weekends. I think the people who live here are sociable young professionals who enjoy entertaining, but like to keep a tidy home and would get upset if someone spilled wine on the rug.
Track 2.45. Room 2.
This one's more difficult to guess because there are very few clues here about the type of person who lives in it. I think it's a man because there are hardly any personal objects on display. For instance, there aren't any family pictures around the place. There's plenty of evidence to suggest that a successful career person lives here. There is a stylish leather and chrome armchair, which is probably Italian design and worth a lot of money. Whoever lives here certainly has good taste, which may indicate that this person works in a creative field, such as advertising or the media. There isn't really enough furniture to make this look like a home, which suggests someone who spends most of his time traveling might live here. I think this is somebody who doesn't actually spend much time at home, and when he does, he's obsessively neat. You only have to look at how his books are organized on the shelves to see that he likes things to be in order. The minimalism suggests that he wants to be ready to pack his bags and leave at short notice. He has little time to socialize, except in a working context, and probably never entertains at home.
Alright, now here they tell us, go to the page 138 to find out if the people who live there agree. So let's go to the page 138, and here we have the comments of Paula and Colin, the homemaker and the documentary maker, and see if they agree with the comments of the psychologist. So read them and answer this, and when you finish, we'll continue. Alright, now moving on to the grammar topic, we have work with a partner. Complete the extracts from the room descriptions on page 128 with there is or there are. Alright, so first let's do this exercise. You're gonna choose there is or there are to complete the sentences. Alright, now that you have finished, we'll continue with this exercise that says, arrange the highlighted quantifiers in a logical order, from none to a lot more than necessary. Okay, so here we have these quantifiers that are highlighted, several, very few, hardly any, plenty of, not really enough. So we're gonna order them from none to a lot more than necessary. For example, I can tell you that hardly any is similar to none. So this will be the number one. Like that, continue until you write the 5 quantifiers. Alright, let's check the answers. Let's see. The first one that will be similar to none, well, I told you that it is hardly any. And the answer will be there are. There are hardly any personal objects. Then the number 2 will be very few. There are very few clues. We continue with not enough. There isn't really enough furniture, right? Then talking about a lot, we have there are several cushions, and the last one that means a lot more than necessary will be there is plenty of evidence. Very good, guys. Now, in order to explain this topic, let me ask you a question. Which of these objects would you say that are countable? That's right, personal objects, clues, and cushions. As you can see, with countable nouns, we use are. There are, there are, there are. Because if you want to talk about countable nouns, you must write them in plural. And the ones that are non-countable, like you cannot count them, you must write them in singular. And for this reason, you must use there is. Very good. Now, in this moment, we're going to explain the nouns and quantity expressions that we have here. Let's see. Most of them can be used for both countable and uncountable nouns. For example, we have none, not any, some, a lot, loads, and plenty. Very good. As you can see, these expressions, we can use them with countable and uncountable nouns. Well, it's very easy to explain. When we say none, it's because we don't have any of something. It's the same as not any. But there are some that we can only use with countable nouns. For example, few and a few. We cannot say few or a few with uncountable nouns. In that case, we say little or a little. Then, with countable nouns, we can also say several. But there's not a word similar to that for uncountable nouns. When you say several, it's only for countable nouns. Then also for countable, we have the word many. But with uncountables, instead of many, we say much. Alright? So as you can see, the expressions highlighted in blue are the ones that we can use for countable and uncountable. The expressions highlighted in green are the ones we can only use for countable, and the expressions highlighted in yellow are the ones that we can only use for uncountable. Alright? Then when we say not enough, it's also for countable and uncountable, and this means that is less than you need. Also, you can say enough only in affirmative for both types of nouns. And then if you say too, well, it depends. If you say too much, it is for uncountable. But if you say too many, it is for countable. But when you use the word too, it's because there is more than you need. Okay, when you say not enough, it's less than you need. And when you say too much or too many, it is more than you need. Alright, if there are no questions, let's continue with the exercise number 2. That says, work with your partner. Look at the sentences beginning A to D, these sentences, and decide which is the most suitable ending, 1 or 2, for each sentence. Alright, so for this pair of sentences, which will be the most suitable, 1 or 2, and for this, 1 or 2. Let's see. The letter A says, my father speaks a little English. Do you think that this means that he probably won't understand you, or that he'll probably understand you? It is that he'll probably understand you. But if you say my father speaks little English, it means that he probably won't understand you. Then if we say A few people can understand him. Would you say that this is encouraging or discouraging? This is encouraging. But if you say few people can understand him, this is discouraging. And then we have this question. Which quantifiers involved mean some? Which of these would you say that mean some? The quantifiers that mean some are a little and a few. The one that means not much will be little, and the one that means not many will be few. Why is this? Maybe you're wondering, what is the difference between a little and between a few and few? Well, when we talk about small numbers or small amounts, you can use a few or a little to emphasize the positive. That's why we say that it means some. For example, imagine that they tell you that they want to invite you to travel to another place. And you say, well, I have a little money. This means that you don't have a lot, but that you can go. But when you say few or little, this is to emphasize the negative. So it means not many or not much. Again, imagine that they invite you to travel to another place. And you say, I have little money. So this means that you don't have a lot of money and that you cannot go because of that reason. So that is the difference. When you say the article a, it is to emphasize the positive, and when you don't say it, it is to emphasize the negative. Right? That's why when he speaks a little, he'll understand you. And if a few people understand him, it is encouraging. So this is positive. But if he speaks little English, he probably won't understand you. And if few people understand him, this is discouraging because they are emphasizing in the negative. All right? Very good, guys. Now, let's continue with the exercise number 3 so that we can practice this topic. Here it says, complete the sentences so that they are true for you, and then compare with your partners. All right? So here we have these sentences. For example, I try to find a little time each day for, and well, your answer is going to be individual because only you know what you do when you have little time. For example, in my case, I try to find a little time each day for relaxing, watching a movie, and like that. So please do it, and when you finish, you're going to call your classmates to compare your answers. Alright, once you finish, in the exercise number 4 we have underline the correct verb form for these statements. Alright, so in these 6 sentences we have is or are, or in this case in negative, and you're gonna choose the correct form. How are you gonna do this? Well, remember that if it is a countable noun, you're gonna use are, and if it is an uncountable noun, you're gonna use is. It is very easy to identify because uncountable nouns we cannot write them in plural, and countable nouns we must write them in plural. For example, in the letter A it says, there isn't or aren't nearly enough nightlife. As you can see, nightlife is in singular because it is an uncountable noun. So it's isn't. There isn't nearly enough nightlife. But for example, in letter C we have there very few tourists in plural because tourist is a countable noun. So there are very few tourists. Also because few, remember that can only be used with countable. It cannot be used with uncountable. In that case we will use little. Alright, so please continue with the rest of the sentences, and when you finish we'll move on. Alright, in the next exercise we have change the statements as necessary to describe your hometown or city. So you're gonna rewrite these sentences, but you're gonna change a little bit of each of them so that they are true for Reynosa in this case. For example, here it says there are very few tourists. Well, I think that in Reynosa there aren't any tourists, so you can say there aren't any tourists. And like this, please continue. And when you finish, in your notebook, you're gonna add 2 more statements, and then you're gonna compare your answers with your partner. So you're gonna write 2 more statements about Reynosa, if there are something that it's important to mention, And well, when you finish, call your classmates to compare your answers. Alright, moving on to the last topic of today, we have speaking, anecdote. Now you're gonna tell your partner about your favorite room. You already know what to do. You're gonna ask yourself the questions below. You're gonna ask yourself, not your classmates. These questions are here so that you can prepare your anecdote. When you're ready, you're gonna think about what to say and how to say it. And finally, you're gonna call your classmates and you're gonna tell them about the room. Alright? It's an anecdote, it's not an interview. So do it, guys, and when you finish, well, that's gonna be it for today's class. Thank you for your attention and see you tomorrow. Take care, goodbye.